अस्सलाम-ओ-allaikum स्टूडेंट्स, आज मैं आपके सामने cs302 डिजिटल लॉजिक डिज़ाइन के पास्ट पेपर्स लेकर आई हूँ। क्वेश्चन नंबर 1 हमारे पास गिवन है, आ 8-bit सीरियल इन पैरेलल आउट शिफ्ट रजिस्टर कंटेन्स द वैल्यू 8 डैश क्लॉक सिग्नल विल बी रिक्वायर्ड टू शिफ्ट द वैल्यू कम्प्लीटली आउट ऑफ द रजिस्टर। तो इसका करेक्ट आंसर है 8। क्वेश्चन नंबर 2 हमारे पास गिवन है, in a sequential circuit the next state is determined by dash and dash current state and external input. The divide by 60 counter in digital clock is implemented by using two cascading counters, mod 6 and mod 10. Next है, in NOR gate based SR latch, if both S and R inputs are set to be to logic 0, the previous output state is maintained true. The minimum time for which the input signal has to be maintained at the input of flip-flop is called dash of the flip-flop whole time of the flip-flop. Next is 74 8C163 has two enable input pins which are dash and dash, ENP and ENT. Dash is said to occur when multiple internal variables change due to change in one input variable, race condition. Next है, the dash input overrides the dash input. Asynchronous input overrides the synchronous input. Next our decade counter is mod 10 counter, कहलाता है decade counter. In asynchronous transmission, when the transmission line is idle, it is said to be logic high. Our nibble consists of dash bits 4 bits. Nibble 4 bits पे मुश्तमिल. The output of this circuit is always A. Excess 8 codes assigns dash to -8 4 times 0. The voltage gain of the inverting amplifier is given by the relation V output by V input is equal to minus RF by RI. Next LUT is acronym for lookup table. The three fundamental gates are NOT, OR, AND. The total amount of memory that is supported by any digital system depends upon the size of the address bus of the microprocessor. Stack is an acronym for LIFO memory. Addition of two octal numbers 36 and 71 results in 127. Dash is one of the example of synchronous input, JK input. Dash occurs when the same clock signals arrives at different time at different clock inputs due to propagation delay, clock skew. Next statement given is the correct answer है 1101. In a state diagram, the transition from a current state to the next state is determined by current state and the inputs. Dash is used to simplify the circuit that determines the next state as assignment. A 8-bit serial in parallel out shift register contain the value 8 dash clock signal will be required to shift the value completely out of the register 8. Repeat हुआ है. Assume that a 4-bit serial in serial out shift register is initially clear. We wish to store the nibble 1100. What will be the 4-bit pattern after the second clock pulse 4 times 0. LUT is the acronym for lookup table. The diagram given below represent sum of the product form. The operation of JK flip-flop is similar to that of the SR flip-flop except that the JK flip-flop does not have an invalid state. A multiplexer with a registered circuit converts parallel data to serial. A GAL is essentially a programmable PAL. In dash, all the columns in the same row are either read or written. Fast mode, page access. In order to synchronize two devices that consume and produce data at different rates, we can use first in first out memory. A positive edge triggered flip-flop changes its state when low to high transition of clock. A 8-bit serial in parallel out shift register contain the value 8. ये भी repeat हुआ है, 8 आंसर है. A frequency counter counts number of clock pulses in 1 second. In a sequential circuit, the next state is determined by dash and dash input and clock signal applied. The divide by 60 counter in digital clock is implemented by using two cascading counters, mod 6, mod 10. In NOR gate based SR latch, if both S and R inputs are set to be logic 0, The previous output state is maintained. True. Flip-flops are also called bi-state multi-vibrators. The minimum time for which the input signal has to be maintained at the input of flip-flop is called dash of the flip-flop hold time. Next है 748C163 has two enable inputs pin which are dash and dash, ENP, ENT. Dash is said to occur when multiple internal variables change due to change in one input variable, race condition. Given the state diagram of up-down counter, we can find the next state of the given present state. The dash input overrides the dash input, asynchronous input overrides the synchronous input. A logic circuit with an output consists of 2 AND gate, 1 OR gate, 2 inverters. A decade counter is mod 10 counter. In asynchronous transmission, when the transmission line is idle, it is set to logic high. A nibble consists of 4 bits. The output of this circuit is always A. The expression F is equal to A plus B plus C describes the operation of 3 bits dash gate, OR gate. Stack is acronym of LIFO memory. Addition of two octal number 36 and 71 result in 127. The ANSI IEEE standard 754 define a dash single precision floating point format for binary number 32 bits. The decimal 17 in BCD will be represented at 10111. The basic building block for a logical circuit is a logical gate. The output of the expression 0. Dash is an invalid number of cells in a single group formed by the adjacent cells in K yani Carnot map 12. The PROM consists of a fixed non-programmable gate array configured as a decoder, and dash is one of the example of synchronous input, JK input. Dash is one of the example of asynchronous input, clear input. The dash input override the dash input, asynchronous input override the synchronous input. In a state diagram, the transition from a current state to the next state is determined the current state and the inputs. The dash is used to minimize the possible number of states of a circuit state assignment. Dash is used to simplify the circuit that determines the next state assignment. The best state assignment tends to maximize the number of states variables that don't change in a group of related states. The output of a circuit is always a 5-bit Johnson counter sequence through dash states 10 states. The address from which data is read is provided by microprocessor. FIFO is an acronym for first in first out. LUT is acronym for lookup table. ये भी repeat हो चुका है. Dash of a DA converter is determined by comparing the actual output of DA in converter with the expected output accuracy. A sequence of state that are implemented by an bit Johnson counter is 2n and multiplied by 2. A plus B is equal to B plus A is commutative law. The diagram demultiplexer is also called data distributor. ये भी repeat हो चुका है, ये भी repeat हो चुका है. Next है flip flop is connected to plus 5 volt and it draw 5 mA of current during its operation. The power dissipation of the flip flop is 25 MW. Dash counters are the name indicate are not triggered simultaneously asynchronous. Next repeat हो चुका है. Synchronous decade counter will have dash flip flop 4 flip flop. Next ये भी repeat हो चुका है. The alternate solution for demultiplexer register combination circuit is serial in parallel outshift register. Next repeat हो चुके हैं. Next है the 4-bit 2's complement representation of plus 5 is 0101. The storage cell in a SRAM is a capacitor. What is the difference between a D latch and a D flip flop? The D flip flop has a clock input. A positive edge triggered JK flip flop with both J and K high. The output will dash if the clock goes high. Toggle. The OR gate perform Boolean. The output will dash if the clock goes high. Toggle. The OR gate perform Boolean if the clock goes high. Toggle. The OR gate perform Boolean if the clock goes high. Toggle. The OR gate perform Boolean if the clock goes high. Toggle. The OR gate perform Boolean if the clock goes high. Toggle. The OR gate perform Boolean if the clock goes high. Toggle. The OR gate perform Boolean if the clock goes high. Toggle. The OR gate perform Boolean if the clock goes high. Toggle. The OR gate perform Boolean if the clock goes high. Toggle. The OR gate perform Boolean if the clock goes high. Toggle. The OR gate perform Boolean if the clock goes high. Toggle. The OR gate perform Boolean if the clock goes high. Toggle. The OR gate perform Boolean if the clo addition. If an SR' has R1 on the S input and R0 on the R input, and then the S input goes to 0, the lash will be set. Determine the values of A, B, C and D. That makes the sum term A bar plus B plus C bar plus D equal to 0. A is equal to 1, B is equal to 0, C is equal to 1, D is equal to 0. Next, the power dissipation PD of a logic gate is the product of the DC supply voltage and the peak current. Our Carnot map is similar to a truth table because it represents all the possible values of input variables and resulting the output of each value true. NOR gate can be used to perform the operation of AND, OR and NOT gate true. Using multiplexer as parallel to serial converter requires dash connected to the multiplexer, a parallel to serial converter circuit. The 3-variable Carnot map has dash cells for minimum or maximum terms 8. In designing any counter, the transition from our current state to the next state is determined by current state and inputs. Sum term and max term is implemented using dash gates or gate. When both the inputs of edge triggered JK flip-flop are set to logic 0, Q is equal to 1 and Q is equal to 0. The output if S is equal to 1 and R is equal to 0, then Q T plus 1 is equal to 1. If S is equal to 1, R is equal to 1, then T Q plus 1 is equal to invalid. For negative edge, positive edge के लिए 1, जबकि negative edge के लिए invalid. Next है the minimum time for which the input signal has to maintain at the input of flip-flop is called dash of the flip-flop hold time. Next है we have a digital circuit. Different part of circuit operate at different clock frequencies, but we have a single clock source having a fixed clock frequency. We can get help by JK flip-flop. Our counter is implemented by 3 flip-flops. Possibly it will have dash maximum output status 8. In dash Q, output of the last flip-flop of the shift register is connected to the data input of the first flip-flop of the shift circuit ring counter. The dash of our ROM is the time it takes for the data to appear at the data output of the ROM chip after the address is applied at the address input lines. Access time. Bistable devices remain in either of their dash states unless the input force of the device to switch its state. Two states होती हैं इसमें. Alternative solution for multiplexer and register counter circuit is parallel in serial out shift register. Stack is acronym for LIFO memory. A full adder has input 0 and output have 0 and output is equal to 1. The glitches due to race condition can be avoided by using a negative edge triggered flip-flop. The design and implementation of synchronous counters start from state diagram. The ORS counter is implemented using a single decade counter and a flip-flop. The high density flash memory cell is implemented using one floating gate MOS transistor. Question 2 is equal to Q1 or X or Q. Question number 3 Q2 correct statement here. Generally, the power dissipation of dash devices remains constant throughout their operation TTL. When the control line in tri-state buffer is high, the buffer operates like a dash gate, NOT gate. 3.3 volt CMOS series is characterized by dash and dash as compared to 5 volt CMOS series. Fast switching speeds, very low power dissipation. The output of AND gate is 1 when all the inputs are 1. The OR gate perform a Boolean addition function. Our Carnot map is similar to the truth table because it represents the all possible input variables and the resulting output of each value. True. The binary number A is equal to 1100, B is equal to 1001 are applied to the input of a comparator. What are the output levels? The correct option number 3 है. The diagram above shows the general implementation of dash from product of sum. Demultiplexer converts dash data to dash data, serial data to parallel data. Flip-flops are also called bi-state multi-vibrator. If S is equal to 1, R is equal to 1, then correct option is 1. If S is equal to 1 and R is equal to 1, the correct option is invalid. Positive 1 and 1 negative invalid. In dash, the Q output of the last flip-flop of the shift register is connected to the data input of the first flip-flop, Johnson counter. The output of an XNOR gate is 1 when the correct option number 2 and 3. When any of input is 0, next any of the input is 1. NAND gate is formed by connecting AND gate and then NOT gate. Consider A is equal to 1, B is equal to 0, C is equal to 1. Then A, B, C represent the input of 3-bit NAND gate. The output of the NAND gate will be 1. The capability that allows the PLDs to be performed after they have been installed on a circuit board is called in-system programming, ISP. The ABEL symbol for OR operation is hash. If S is equal to 1, then your repeat हो चुका है. Following is the circuit diagram of monostable device which gate will be represented by the red colored rectangle, XNOR gate. In dash, output depend only on the combination of current state and the input melee machine. Dash is used to simplify the circuit that determines the next state assignment. Next statement given है इसका correct option है active low registered mode output. Enable consists of 4 bits. In order to synchronize two devices that consume and produce data at different rates, we can use first in first out memory. If the FIFO memory output is already filled with data, then none of the given option is correct. The process of converting the analog signal into a digital representation is known as quantization. Above is the circuit diagram is called asynchronous. A plus B into A plus B plus C into A plus C is an example of product of sum. पहले product करेंगे हम इसे multiply और फिर sum करेंगे. Caveman number system is base dash number system 5. The output of XOR gate is 0 when 1 and 4 only. Correct. All of the input are 0. All the inputs are 1. The dash encoder is used as a keypad encoder. Decimal to BCD priority. The low to high or high to low transition of the clock is considered to be an edge. Positive edge triggered flip-flop changes state when low to high transition of clocks. RCO stand for ripple clock output. Bistable devices remain in either of their two states. Dash is one of the example of synchronous input, clear input. Asynchronous की example है. Dash occurs when the same clock signal arrive at different times of different clock input due to propagation delay, clock skew. A transparent mode means the changes in data at the input of the latch are seen at the output. In dash, outputs depend on the current state mode machine. In asynchronous transition, when the transmission line is idle, it's set to be high logic high. Smallest unit of binary data is bit. NOR gate is formed by connecting OR gate and then NOT gate. Repeat हो चुका है. A particular half adder has 2 input and 2 outputs. A frequency counter counts the number of clock pulses in 1 second. Stack is acronym for LIFO memory. आज का हमारा लेक्चर बस यहीं तक था. आपने अच्छे से इसकी तैयारी करनी है और उम्मीद है इनमें से काफ़ी हद तक MCQs रिपीट होंगे. ओके, अल्लाह हाफिज़.